I wanted to build an awl, the kind of awl that you can wrap on with a mallet. I've got these other awls that are just wooden handled, but if you hit those, you can split them. Here's another awl I have with a metal backside to it, and here's an old Stanley Sweetheart that is also you can hit with a hammer. It's got all of the bolt going all the way through, and here's the one I'm going to make. And it's basically built by using a bolt. I had this great piece of walnut left over from another handle project I had done. So this awl will use a 5" by 1/4" bolt and this brass plumbing fitting. And basically you round the 6-sided part of the bolt off with the grinder and grind a point into the bolt. And then you take that brass fitting and you grind the 6-sided part off of that to make a smooth brass ferrule out of it. And basically the thing goes together like this. I did a quick drawing. The bolt just goes in where you can expose the top so you have something to hit. The ferrule goes on the bottom and sort of threads on. Here's a cutaway of the handle just to give you a better idea of how that looks. And here is the finished product. And so this is how I went about it. Again, I had this piece of walnut that I was going to use. Here's the short flare nut brass fitting, and here is the finished bolt. So how I started was spinning the bolt in my drill and using it against the grinder to get it close to round. And then I, with first 200 paper, then 400 paper, then 600 paper, I ground the face of that bolt down to where I could get it to be a sort of a polished surface. In between the sandpaper and later the buffer, I was able to get that bolt head, which was now round, to be almost mirror perfect. Here I'm using some paper on it, spinning it in my lathe with a chuck, and I got it, shinier and shinier. I went from like I said, from 200 to 400 to 600 paper, then took it to the buffer and buffed a mirror surface onto it. It ended up looking really nice. It's 7/16 in diameter, and so I was just testing there with a piece of wood using a Forstner bit. I'm going to drill a 7/16 hole in the back side of the handle to accept that round part of the bolt. So here I am final polishing it on the buffer, and again, it was mirror-like. Then I tried to sharpen the other end of the bolt, and I started with a file in my lathe, and it just didn't work. So I went back to the grinder, spinning the bolt in my drill. I got it fairly close on the grinder to a sharp point, and then as I got that closer and closer, I went back to the lathe and again used heavy paper, lighter paper, lighter paper, lighter paper, and then finally, once I got it, almost perfect with paper, I went back to the buffer and polished again, kind of a mirror surface in it. And I don't know if you saw that finished product. You'll see it again at the end. It really came out really, really, really nice, very shiny. Both the cap end of this bolt and the pointed end of this bolt came out really, really shiny. So here I'm getting the blank ready, and I'm just cutting it down to about a 2.5" square on the table saw. It was sort of an odd shape left over from another project. So I'm just getting it close here, marking my centers to be able to mount it up on the lathe, and then I will be turning this square obviously down into a cylindrical shape to begin shaping the handle. So here I am on the lathe with my gouge, just simply rounding that blank to get it ready to go. As I got a little bit closer, I held the bolt up to it to try to determine where the top of the handle would be and where the threaded part would be for the ferrule. And then I just started shaping those. Using my parting tool, I got it down very quickly at that end, and also at the other end, just to make myself some room where I will later mount this in my lathe chuck from the back side. And then I just whittled away at that part where the ferrule is going to go. And this ferrule, since it's a threaded plumbing fixture, I literally made it so that it would thread onto the wood. And so I had to sneak up on that size in order for that ferrule to fit tightly. Here I am now mounting the handle in the lathe chuck so that I can work on the pointy end. And so I just continued to turn that down to get it as close as I could to the diameter of the brass plumbing fitting. And as I get that closer and closer, I'm starting to shape now the handle to give you just an idea what that handle's going to look like. I just slowly cut down on that using my caliper, trying to come up close to that size. And once I got down there, I literally was able to cut threads in the wood by putting on and backing off and putting on and backing off that ferrule. Now, admittedly, once that ferrule is mounted on that handle and then you've drilled a 1/4-inch hole down the middle of the handle for the bolt to go through, there's not much wood left. But amazingly, there is enough wood left there that the ferrule threads on and stayed on very tightly. When I did the final assembly of the awl, I put some notches in the bolt to get some purchase, coated it in epoxy, also coated those threads in epoxy, slid the bolt in, bolted on the ferrule, and then wiped it clean. And so it's definitely there for life because of the epoxy that I used to glue it all together. Here you can see the threads, and honestly, you just put it on and back it off and put it on and back it off as if you're cutting threads like when you're making a wooden thread screw. Same idea. You put it on, take it off, put it on, take it off. I think I put a little bit of wax on there to just make that move a little easier, have a little less resistance. But again, twisting it on, twisting it off, twisting it on, twisting it off until it came up really tight. Then I took a file and started filing off the 6-sided part of the plumbing fitting. Basically just put a file on its edge and slowly ground away at that. Brass is relatively soft and it actually turns pretty easily on the lathe. I just used a couple of files to get it as round as I could. Once I got it to where it was round and no longer 6-sided, then I just used a heavy paper on it, 200 grit paper, then I went down to a 400 grit paper, then down to a 600 grit paper, and then down to a polishing rouge, and the ferrule turned out really nice. So here I am now sizing the handle down to the size of the ferrule because I want that transition between wood and brass to be almost dead perfect. And so I'm slowly shaping that handle again to the length of the bolt. That determines it. And I'm getting close now at the end because I didn't want to touch the brass with my nice carbide tool. I get down close and then used heavy paper and then lighter and lighter paper to bring that handle down to the size of the ferrule. I ended up with a nice transition. Here I'm using a fairly fine paper with my drill and turning it on both the wood and the brass didn't matter because I still was able to spin that brass with finer paper and then again with some polishing rouge, and it came out very, very smooth. Here I am, I think, with some 400 paper, and then I was putting some rouge on a rag, and look at that, it just polishes kind of like a mirror. Then I put a 1/4-inch bit in my chuck and ran this through the handle all the way through the back side of the handle, this 1/4-inch hole, because this is the size of the bolt. And so I cut that all the way through, and then after that is drilled through, I basically saw the handle off of this blank, put the ferrule end of the awl in my lathe chuck, and then turn from the back side the shallow 7/16 hole using a Forstner bit, which will hold the head of the bolt. Again, giving you that surface that you could wrap on with a mallet and not do the handle or the awl any harm. So I sanded that smooth, and then got it as close as I could to finish. Used my drill again to take sanding marks out and machining marks out, getting that handle nice and round. And then here's the 7/16 Forstner bit, and I'm just going to go into that handle about 1/4 of an inch. That's all I need to go in, because that's all the depth of the head on the remaining bolt. Then, since it was mounted in the lathe and was spinnable, I went ahead and did some final sanding, rubbed some oil finish on it, let that dry, kind of polished it a little bit with some stainless, or with some steel wool, and then I put a couple of coats of paste wax on, again using steel wool to definitely smooth out the surface, and you end up with a really, really nice finish. And here's the finished awl. You can see the part where you can hit with a hammer. That is the back side of the bolt. Here's a good side view. It's a beautiful piece of walnut. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please subscribe, and thank you for watching.